yes, or a high or a way. Good, we're recording. If you're a coach, we have wealth coaches, wellness coaches, life coaches, every relationship coaches. We have so many coaches. And so I know that this has been such an anticipated new product coming to us. And I know, Michael, everyone is so excited to hear how to really get the best out of this incredible new tool. I know when we were in Berlin chatting with Marcus, he had said, we originally never wanted to put these things into Healy, but people want it. And so, but what they want to know mostly is how to use it. So I think we've got so many people eager to learn here.
Amazing. Yeah. So Michael, exactly. So maybe you can quickly tell us, like, what was the original idea to have a coaching module on the time waiver, and how did it get to become one of the models of Healy? So maybe you can go a little bit into the history before we go into the technical things.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for having me here tonight. Also from my side, I'm very glad to be on this surprising, huge call. We're almost approaching 400, so now people are still tuning in. Yeah, so just to talk, I'll tell you guys a little bit about the background. It comes from Time Wafer Technology. Max already told it. We have this original module called the coaching wheel module in Time Wafer Professionals device. However, because it was very successful and many coaches use that in a professional setting, that we thought, like, hey, we don't want to hold it back for the world, just for everyone to use it. So you could say we arranged for a careful selection. Of course, it is limited due to the size and stuff, so we cannot put everything in, but we carefully selected the most, let's say, needed categories in life, so that you guys have on 1-2 clicks basically an analysis in the field regarding certain coaching questions. And as you probably know, there is the personal coach, the professional coach. The personal one consists of 6 categories, mainly for personal coaching in terms of partnership, emotional balance, goals in life. However, then the professional coach is like additionally dealing with the business content. So then you can think about changing your profession, find your inner call. I don't have it in mind all, but we'll come to this because I want to mirror actually my mobile phone, and then I will actually what I want to do with you guys is just to do a live analysis so that you guys see a little bit what's going on and how you can use these things, because I guess that's the most important and most interesting part, right?
Absolutely. Super. So should we just jump in, and I let you share your screen, and we can talk about it. And I think everybody's really curious to know, because everybody, we have it now since a little bit over 2 weeks, I think, on the market.
Right.
And it's an amazing tool. I mean, I've been using it on myself and on some people, and it's so precise. And I have the most amazing testimonials already regarding business coaching that is really mind blowing. So I think we just jump right into it. If you can, just share your screen, and then we can go through these categories and things and so forth. So we make the most of our time, because I know Michael has only 45 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have a good one. Yeah, very good. Just to, I guess there are already some training videos available at the Healy Academy in our back office. I guess more are still coming. I was writing all the scripts so far, but I guess there are still a few following up, because they have to kind of make the some video script to it. But that is coming. I guess we have in 3 different categories, like explaining in detail how to interpret the results, because this is what is actually most important. That's most important, because you need to know how to interpret the results. Basically, Healy is communicating with the field. However, the vocabulary is limited, because as you see, the databases sometimes have 100 entries, 200, maximum maybe 400 entries. So in a certain area, Healy can communicate with 400 vocabulary. So this is not, let's say, with 400 vocabulary, you cannot describe the world, to put it on one side. On one side. However, on the other side, if you know how to read in between the lines, even 400 words can quite detailed, build a map of, let's say, the emotional state of clients, or the career or the professional environment of clients. So, but that is the ability what you guys kind of have to learn as well, to be able to read between the lines, to see when Healy says something that could be interpreted in this area, but it can also slightly, be interpreted in this area. And this is what I want to show you live with an analysis. Okay,
Michael, the entries that you're talking about, when you go into the actual app and then you choose the different areas that you want to analyze, the entries that you're talking about is the number that you can put next to there, right? And so if we were to do more numbers, then we would get more of a picture.
Yeah, or let me just, what I do? I'll just mirror my screen and then I show it live, because then I can, you tell me if you see that. Do you see that?
Very clear.
Perfect.
Okay, 1 second. Let me put that to here and then, So see, this is the thing. Let me just put, you have this coaching analysis. So there you go. And what we take our max. It's not you, Max, this time. It's slightly different, the picture. So let's maybe we should, what I want to do is just to have a more of a general emotional balance analysis. So what I do is, first of all, I have to define a very clear focus. Focus is important, Timberfer and Healy, because you need to know where you want to go. As in every area in life, you need to go, what is your goal? However, the more clearly and precisely you define that here, the easier it will be to interpret the results. If you leave it more general here, the results will also be more general. Because as you know, Healy, we are working with the quantum sensor, which means the system goes in resonance with your intention. If your intention is clearly put in, precise words, then the results are also more clear and it's easier for interpretation. However, the focus window here is for you to put your mental focus on a piece of paper. Don't get the system wrong. The system is not seeing what you type in, because the system can't really, because otherwise you would limit the system to one language. What language would the field speak? Is it German? Maybe because it's a German invention, but actually there is no language in that sense. So the system actually is not reading what you type in the focus window, but it is actually reading what is your meaning, what do you intend to say. And that, you would say, consciousness photographing is what Healy then takes and compares with what is available in the databases. And this is what we see. So I'm setting a focus today. I am, for Max, I am mentally balanced and, let's say, stable. That could be a good focus. If let's say, if you want to do an emotional or mental analysis as a personal coach, then that will be, it is a bit more general. It's true, because I want to leave it a little bit open, because I want to go somewhere. However, you could be more precise. That means you could put it in more clearer terms. And let's say, my partnership with my partner is harmonious and loving, and we can talk openly about potential challenges and obstacles in our relationship, like this. You can use one sentence, you can use 3 or 4 sentences, depending on how much you need in order to describe the situation properly. But for our analysis, that should be it for now. So then we continue with the databases. So now we have, as I see, I had the 10. Now, okay, now we have the 6. This is just the personal coach. There are 4 categories missing. I just had, but somehow or other, I guess I used the other Healy. It doesn't matter, because this is what we need. We need the category mainly is emotional balance. And you see, there is a category, emotional balance, that's the last one, with 136 entries. So if you go into this one, you see that is actually composed of 3 databases. So if you, calculate 21 plus 36 plus 79 will come up to 136, because that is the total in brackets. So what I was just saying is, if I do emotional harmony, and I want to take 1 here, then Healy is going in the field of that client and will find from 21 possible results, the one result which is most suitable regarding the focus. That's the idea. Because the results are always to be interpreted regarding the focus of why we are doing it. So then let's say the last database is a bit larger. We are dealing with 79 potential entries. So there we could also take more than one, let's say 2 or 3, right? Because the larger the database, the better the ability to find differentiated results. Let's say if you have a database with only 10 possible answers, to get 5 of 10, then there's not much of a field analysis function there. But if you have 2 of 79, there's quite some possibility to find proper results in this database. So like you could say as an advice, if the database is smaller, you take 1 or 2. If the database is larger, like the last one we have here, you can take 3 or 4. But in general, I would not take much more than 3, because otherwise it gets too complicated. You could do this thing, you could take 20, but then, you have 20 results, and that's just overwhelming. And then it becomes chaotic. And then you don't know really, okay, what is now good? What shall I take and whatnot? So keep it simple in general and just take 1, 2, maximum 3. That is a good one. So now what I want to tell you is you can combine different categories. So you could say here, I want to take 3 from emotional balance. So now I go back, means I'm taking this little arrow up here and I go back. So now this category is marked. However, now I'm actually using another category on top of it, which could be self-worth, because you might think of, okay, emotional or mental balance is also related to self-worth issues, because that would obviously make sense. So now, in order to also bring results or get results from this category, you would now go into self-worth. And here you see you have also 3 databases connected to this category. The largest, however, is the first one. Is called self-acceptance. So I would take, I could take 2 or 3 because it's quite a large database. However, 1 is enough. I don't want to, make it too bulky, the whole result. And then I have one more, how to say it? Parameters of happiness. I mean, this is just perfect. Remember, the focus was I'm emotionally balanced and stable. So parameters of happiness is exactly what is actually suitable. So this you can also take. So now going back, we have already 2 data or 2 categories used for this analysis. So now you could think of, is it also something which is needed in terms of family relationships? Maybe not really. Is it maybe also related to social relationships, the second category? Maybe, because, my mental balance or stability affects my social relationships. And if, let's say, my client has an issue that his social relationships are suffering due to his lack of emotional balance, then I would also take this category. So I go in there. And as you see, self-love and altruism is the largest one. Personal integrity, I love that one. So I'll take 1 of that one. And maybe self-love and altruism, like this. So now, as you see, you use 3 categories. And all the categories I use right now are categories which are related to the focus. In the training videos, however, I mainly was sticking to 1 category, because I wanted to, keep it very, very, very simple. However, now we are already a bit further in time. So you could say, why not being a bit more creative and using even more categories regarding a certain focus? So that's what we do right now. Once you're happy with the selection, you go on this little tick up here in the upper right corner. And there you see, you can still double check. These are now all the databases which we, have been choosing: emotional harmony, parameters of happiness, emotional balance. If you want to change it, you can go back. You could even say you want to change the focus, if you like fine tune or adjust the focus. However, I guess we are good. And we just go and start the analysis. Before we go and start on doing analysis, one little thing. It is very important, because the real effect, like the quantum effect, takes place once you hit start analysis. So now whatever we have done before is a bit of a preparation work. Whenever you hit start analysis, the hardware goes in resonance with the current situation of the client. That's the idea. So the true quantum effect takes place once you hit start analysis. Means that would be the time where you ideally would be super much focused. You could say that's when the meditation starts. Means like you're not writing an email, you know, and then hit start or something, or you are not talking to somebody. Whenever a client is there or you do it for yourself, that's the time when you focus and when your meditation is, you know, like spot on. Okay, let's do that one.
Actually, I'm doing it at the same time on my Healy, the same thing what you do in yours now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I was just focusing. So that's always a good thing, to really keep the mind sharp, because as we know, Healy resonance that does not have any cable connection. So the only thing which connects is what you have in mind. Means therefore this mental focus should be clear and yeah, steady. So again, Max is up there. I'm mentally balanced and stable. That was our focus. So now we have quite some results, as you can see. We could scroll down and everything. So we have quite something. The question is now what to take and what not to take. Obviously, you could go by certain, yeah, let's say parameters. First of all, up here in that corner, there is this little icon where you can sort the results in a certain order. I would, however, you know, because you see the relevance is quite similar, specifically in the very beginning. Here, you see the lowest relevance is on 72. Sometimes you find like entries which, you know, have a relevance of 40%, which are then to, you know, more taken to be as an advice or a hint, but not because they are not, let's say, as spot on. They are not as precise. But especially the first ones, they are quite similar. They are all maybe above 90%. So therefore, relevance is not so much the parameter you would look at. You would rather sort it regarding potency in descending order. Do you see that? Now I actually sorted according to potency in descending order, or you could also say in ascending order, because then you have the depotencies on top. And the depotency is what we know from the, I don't know whether you guys have seen the training video. This is related to the cause of why this person has an emotional instability or imbalance. So, by the way, we just have one depotency, which makes it easier because one depotency means there's one main cause. If we have 3 depotencies, you kind of have to decide a little bit and communicate with the client what's now the real thing. Then you might also want to look into these numbers. You know, now we have D 100,000, and then the lower depotencies, let's say D10 or D4, they are more materially manifested. So there would be rather to be taken to be the main course. However, now we just have one, which makes it easier. For the interpretation, that's a very good result. So let me just read that out for you guys. Desired state: I practice love of self and altruism. I recognize the unconscious causes that result in the overuse of my body. It's interesting. That's a very good one. Desired state, because that's where we want to go. It indirectly implies that's not where we are at. So obviously, most of the things are in desired state language, which means that's where we want to go in terms of harmonizing, in terms of optimizing, right? So now the desired state description is just specifying this a little more in detail, which means I recognize to a right degree what I can accept from my body so that I feel good and can generate optimally. So now see the cause. The focus was mental balance and stability. However, now the cause is that the body is being overused. So now remembering, like in the beginning, I said to read between the lines. So to overuse the body is one thing, like you just, just stretch or you just do too much. You just do too much fitness. You work too hard. Your physical labor it's just too much. Your system is kind of overloaded. However, that could also mean that you're focusing too much on the bodily platform of your existence. So there are certain gaps for interpretation. Body is there, the word body is there. However, your focus could also be that you mentally just focus on your physical reality. You are not taking into account other dimensions of your being, of your reality. You kind of neglect whatever is there besides the physical reality. That will be the gap in between for interpretation. However, now this is a very clear cause that there's an overuse of body. You could say that person is right now focusing too much on using the body, and therefore the mind is actually not happy. So you're basically not doing whatever is needed so that you also on the mental platform get happy, balanced, and stable. The focus is too much put on the physical reality. And to come back to the desired state description, I recognize to a right degree what I expect from my body so that I feel good, and can regenerate optimally. So that actually indicates that this person is really physically doing too much. And therefore, that, the body gives signals. Let's say, we have this body, mind, and soul, this triangle. So if you just focus on the physical reality too much, the others do not, live peacefully and balanced side by side towards the physical reality. So therefore, we would advise Max here to take away the focus from the physical reality and put the focus also, when we come back to this triangle, towards the mental reality, towards the spiritual reality, to bring that into proper balance. Because, and also, as we see, there's no time to regenerate optimally. So that would indicate maybe even some sleeping disorder. That would indicate too much work and a lack of recreation, a lack of regeneration. So in the communication, you would talk to the person and say, hey, how much do you sleep? Do you sleep in one stretch? Do you have sleeping disorder? Do you actually feel that you sleep enough? Or are you constantly tired even though you have slept whatever 6-7 hours? So you would kind of dig deeper a little bit there to find out what could be possible side courses, you could say, as well to that. Okay, so that is an easy one because that's a course. So now the next one is a C, and by the way, this has an intensity of 7, the first course. So whenever you have seen my training videos, the intensity of course shows how intense the broadcasting should be done with this specific information. So 7 is quite high. That means you should quite, let's say, broadcast that issue. You should use Healy as well to send, to optimize, to harmonize back in the field strongly. However, that parameter also indicates how much you can confront the person with the topic which comes out here. So 7 means you are allowed to confront that person quite directly. You can kind of openly talk about it. You don't have to hold back. You don't have to kind of use different words so the person is not, kind of offended or like this. So you can quite, talk about this openly. You can confront, and you actually should confront that person.
Michael, sorry to interrupt. What exactly is the difference between the intensity of 1 and the intensity of 10?
Yeah, that's just exactly what we were talking about. The intensity of 1, of course, the intensity is telling how intensely the information should be transmitted into the field. You could say it's a certain dosing of how much of the information of that affirmation is being broadcasted into the field. So in one sense, 1 is less than 10, and 10 means like you go full on, and 1 means like you just have a slight impulse, and with a little triggering in the field, you can already have some success there. However, this is also on the other side, what I said, an indicator of how much you can confront the person with the issue. So 10 means you can quite be straightforward, and 1 means you have to really watch out, because some people you know, when you talk about these things, they might be quite defending themselves, and then you have not gained anything, because as you know, in a coaching area, you have to be quite tactful. You have to know how much you can kind of poke into the area so that the other person is not offended or is denying it, or is just leaving the room or something like this. So let's say a good coaching conversation depends very much on the tactfulness of the coach, of how much you can give and confront the person with that. So a 10 would mean you can go full steam ahead, and a 1 would mean maybe you wait for another session to even mention that point, just to explain the 2 extremes. And whatever's in between means, like, you know, different shades of the strength of confrontation, like that, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Like, sure.
Thank you.
So that's a good one. But if you talk like Bach flowers, because you can also do an analysis with the Bach flower database, then the 10 would be like how many, you know, like, or like how many units of information would you send into the field of this specific Bach flower? So 1 is obviously less than 10. So then that would be a discrimination right there. Cool. So the second one is quite interesting, because that is a C potency, which clearly indicates that is an effect. Remember, you want to more identify cause and effect principles in a list. This is for coaching very interesting, but it's also in general is very easy to detect those. So therefore, personally, I am focusing more on the D and C potencies, because these are clear, let's say, cause and effect chains. However, the LM potencies, they're also good, and they can be taken as an advice on the side. But, you know, in terms of keeping it simple and clear, I would rather focus on the D and C potencies. So the next C potency is actually, let me read that out. Living consciously. I'm living consciously. And in my consciousness, there is adequate space for the new and the unknown. I now let the unknown and the new enter my consciousness gently and tolerably, and thereby I learn to develop my highest well-being. So that is a clear indicator, because that is an effect, which means that person, the client, has a problem to adapt to new situations and unknown new situations. That would be, you know, when this person would sit next to me, I would immediately talk and confront that person and like just ask, so how is it with you when you come in new situations in life, when you meet new people, when at work you are confronted with new customers, or even, you know, whatever, work environments, are you capable of dealing with this? Do you have problems? How much are you able to adapt towards new situations in life in general, specifically when it comes down to an emotional adaptation? Because one might just move from one house to the next, but we're focusing on emotional balance. So now it is related to our emotional ability to adapt to new and unknown situations. So that would rather be an effect. And, you know, if that person, if you would confront the client with it, then I'm quite sure the person would say, yes, I'm no in this or that situation that I had problems to adapt. Therefore, that has caused mental instability, right? So you bring the interpretation always back to the focus, always back to the focus. This is not a general result right now or a general consequence, but the consequence is related to why we have done the analysis in the first place, which means emotional balance and stability. right? So that will be one consequence. Now we have an intensity of 4, so you would be a little, you would be is slightly delicate. You would not be so direct. You would find appropriate terms to, convey the message in a way the person doesn't feel offended or is not just going into a direction you don't want to have it. Right. And again, the Healy coach is more like a tool. It is not replacing your personal skills. And you, obviously, as a coach, you are a person, and that is the main tool, your personality. And you use Healy as a, let's say, prolonging tool to come to more significant results.
I think also, just maybe to put this in here, like what it really does, because in coaching, it's often about, or mostly about, asking powerful questions, right? And asking the right questions. And I think the coaching module is really a tool that helps you to dig deep so quickly. And then by receiving those answers, building around those answers the right questions now even faster and more effective. That's what I feel it is. Quickly, how would you, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I think we have never been on a call where it's been, I mean, okay, everybody's unmuted, but I know and I see everybody's quietly listening and learning. It's really amazing information that you're sharing here. How would you use and apply the coaching module if you are just a member, who is actually not doing any coaching, but want to use the coaching for himself? Like, you would also say, like, the best way is learning to interpret, and really by observing your own feelings and observing those answers, start learning how to interpret them for yourself, right?
Exactly that. And also to give space that some things we might not understand yet, and some things might become more clear in the future. Maybe it doesn't really become clear within the next 1-2 years. That can also sometimes rarely happen. So that's a good point, Max, you mentioning that these, it is very hard to neutrally accept things usually if you do it for yourself, because we do have blind spots and we do have certain, we have habits and like an upbringing and stuff. So, we have a certain mindset with which we filter the results. So the art, if you do it for yourself, is to put that mindset away as much as possible and kind of neutrally mirroring, okay, this is the result which comes from me in my situation right now. There is a purpose. It is there for good reason. So right now, I might not rationally understand all the things yet. However, if I neutrally accept, it will become clear. And also, don't underestimate the amplification power of Healy, because once you send it into the field, you trigger those issues in the field, and things become clearer in the next, let's say, days, weeks, or months to come. So it is also like we have this very often with time where that people, something comes up and then people are like, yeah, well, but I can't see myself there. This is not me. But then usually I say, just leave this one list entry for now. And in 4 weeks, we talk again about it. And almost all the time, when I address the same issue 4 weeks later, they say, like, actually, now I know what it means. It just took some time. So that is like patience, I would rather say, is something you really have to, develop as well, like that.
Super.
Cool.
Thank you.
And then maybe just to wrap it up with the last one, because you see there are just 2 C's. So this is actually a very nice list. You have 1 cause, means 1 D potency, and you have 2 C potencies, which are consequences resulting from it. And the rest is LM, we could read, but this is more like side stuff, which is additionally good, but it would not be of absolute, necessity to go into in detail. So now this one is a good one because it says self-acceptance. I accept my irrationality and consciously deal with it, because we are talking about emotions now, right? So, when we talk about I'm emotionally stable and balanced, then this rational part might not be so much developed. So means like that person might not be able to understand why in some situations he is not mentally balanced and stable. And therefore, he on top of it feels even worse because he wants to make sense of his emotional instability, but because he can't really connect all the dimensions of his reality, therefore, on top of it, he is giving himself a hard time by not understanding it. So now this list entry is therefore very good to say, it's okay if you don't understand it. You cannot always make sense of how you feel. So therefore, I accept my irrationality because emotions are not rational, which is good. Like if you love somebody, there can be, you can't really explain why you love that person. It's just love is there and love has no cause in that sense. And to try to bring it in words and to rationalize it usually doesn't make it better. So we would rather, if somebody is emotionally imbalanced, or if that person would feel imbalanced when he would sit right next to me, I would tell him right now, don't feel bad about it. Because if you feel bad about you not being emotionally balanced, on top of it, you give yourself a hard time, which is a double, bad situation. You double it up, and then you kind of, this catch 21, or I don't know how they call it in English, you basically are on a downward spiral because you feel bad, and on top of it, you give yourself a hard time, then you feel worse, and on top of it, you give yourself, and then you're just going down the rabbit hole with no, there is no way out. So therefore, the advice would be just accept whenever you feel like this and still consciously deal with it, but become aware of. Don't neglect it. It means accepting, but not neglecting. Like you become aware of, okay, now is a situation I'm not feeling very stable and balanced. However, that's all right. I don't have to try to understand always why and how and where and who. I can just leave it like this. But at the same time, I become aware, okay, that's a situation like this. So this is a very fine, let's say, line of interpretation like that. It's very important. However, this is a C8, which is a very strong consequence. The lower the number after the C or D or LM is an indicator how much, let's say, materialized, or you would say how strong it is. So the lower the better in a way. Means a C1 would be best, because that is a clear, very strong consequence. It cannot get any clearer. A D1 would be best, because that is a clear cause. It cannot be any clearer like this. That would be like a way of interpretation. So it means a C3 here or a C8 is quite close to, it cannot get much more clear, but it's actually very good. That means the consequences, and this is another way to look at the list, the consequences are clearer than the cause, because the cause is a 100,000, which means it's a bit high up there. It's quite diluted. It's not so clear. It's not so crystallized. However, the consequence is quite clear. It's quite spot on. So you could say the consequences are quite, if you talk with Max here, that person would sit next to me, the consequences are quite strong. They're quite manifested. However, the cause is yet not, it's not yet so clear. So therefore, with the consequence, we would need to maybe even do another analysis, because it comes up like overuse of body. So you could do another analysis of whatever in the fitness area, or in, accepting the physical reality, or, just in a conversation to pinpoint that even more, and ask that client, where exactly do you think your body is overused like this? But is it
maybe why is it overused? Where is the drive to overuse your body mentally, emotionally, etc.? So you can go deeper there. Well,
exactly. So you see, that would be like this gap for interpretation, like reading between the lines. Whatever you read between the lines, or whenever you feel there could be a gap of interpretation, is always good to talk back to your client, because then he or she should refer to her reality, so that you clearly get the picture, like the whole picture of the situation. Yeah, I guess that was, and look, we just went through 3 results and we covered half an hour.
I think, I know it's amazingly deep. I think what we need to now cover as well is how do we now apply it, and what is the recommended range of like how often, how long would you vibrate those affirmations or the results, causes, and consequences into your field?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, first of all, you could, of course, convert the list into PDF and send it to the client. You could, however, before you send it, you could also delete certain list entries you feel the client should not read, which is very good. And you see this red X here. So you could just, delete certain things you might not want that the client is, knowing or reading all the time. You can also copy a list, and then I don't know whether you can actually copy a list. Let me see. Is there a way to copy a list? No, you can't. No, you can only delete or rename. So then, then that means if you delete a list entry, it's gone. So you have to think before. Okay. So that means you could convert it into a PDF, send it to the client so that he or she can read through the top 3 or 5 main list entries in the morning after waking up, and in the evening after before going to bed. It's always good to kind of close the cycle of the day with the main important things coming from the list. However, if you vibrate, and that is actually what Max is referring to, using your Healy as an amplification tool, then you would rather have to discriminate whether or not the issue at hand is an issue which is right now pressing. Like right now, it comes up and it is very pressing at the moment. Like it is just disturbing the current situation of Max from our analysis. Or whether or not this is already a long-lasting issue. It's already there since weeks, months, even years. And it comes up and then it goes again, and it comes up and goes again. Like it's been up and down, but it's kind of like underlying thing which is already there. So you have to make that distinction. If you don't know, talk to your client. The client should reflect back to you whether or not this is a pressing current issue or whether this is already a long-lasting thing. And depending on, when it is a pressing one, you would rather say the sending of the list would be 6 to 8 times a day. So you would manually have to activate the list and press vibrate and then basically send the list for about 37 seconds each time. So like more frequent, but not as long. And the total duration would be until success manifests. There's no like total duration. Usually after maybe 1-2 weeks, that should be maybe good. However, if it's a long-lasting thing and that's going on for months or years, then you would send less frequent, which means only maybe 2 or 3 times a day. And you would use, but you would then use a higher sending interval of 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Because it's less frequent, but stronger each time. That's the idea. And then you could say, if it's a long-lasting thing, it usually takes longer until you would see something, until you see success. So you would rather say at least a month, maybe even 2 in rare cases. The thing is, you have to manually reactivate that list. So you have to quite kind of schedule your day, let's put it that way. So if you do it 6 times a day, that means you have to do it each, 2-3 hours. So you have to kind of find a way to get reminded, maybe by another app. You have a reminder app, send this list for this client right now for 37 seconds. So you have to kind of structure the day. And then also communicate back to the clients, let's say after 1 or 2 weeks, just see what has changed and see how things change, or whether or not you need to do another analysis, or whether it is already gone, and then you could just stop it altogether like this.
This is really amazing. I think coaching really has, like in coaching, how you get the best results oftentimes is by understanding where's the issue, and that comes from the question, right?
Yeah, just one last thing, because I just had one question popping up, and I thought about, because there's a number after the potency, you know. And we were talking about, you know, there are numbers like a D1 or a D100,000, just to sum it up. You know, that number is an indicator how strong that issue has already manifested in your physical reality, or whether or not that issue is still kind of subtly and yet not very much manifested in a physical reality. So like a 1, let's say a C1 or a D1, means that issue is already here, is right next to you. The person most likely is identifying with it and knows about that. However, if it's like a D100,000 or D10,000, this is like further away from the manifestation ability of, you know, that means that person might not even know or might not even be able to identify with this. So the further it is away, the less it's tangible, and therefore the numbers will go up into, you know, 1 exponent something. So there's a 1 with a lot of zeros on. But a D1, a C1, or an LM1 would be preferably those issues you want to look at, because they are like really right there. They are like present. They are right next to the client. You could say like that. Cool. Yeah, Max, thank you so much. I guess maybe we have to do a second part because time is just running. I mean, look at
Oh, you just suggested it. Now we do it.
Oh, yeah.
We've got so many requests for so much more of this kind of content. It's amazing. And as you can see, I don't know if you saw on the side there, Michael, and everyone else, there's like about 100 coaches on here from all kinds of realms. So they're very excited to play with this.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, they're eager for more information. They're craving. Michael, I think, but anyway, like, thank you so much for your time. This call was so amazingly informative and perfect. And I think we most definitely have to do it maybe in a week or two, whenever your time allows it again, to go a little bit deeper, maybe have a question and answer. We prepare some questions and I sent them before, because people just love listening to you. And we have so many comments of they appreciate your voice, first of all, because your microphone is really awesome. And also your knowledge, and you explain it in a really amazing way. Like, I think they haven't heard this before from anybody. So we really appreciate you being here and your time and all you do every time when we have here. It's really, it's a blessing. And we blow the call up with 430 people time-wise. So it's amazing. And I think we got to do it again, Taryn.
Yeah, we've absolutely got to do it again. Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys.
So much gratitude to you, Michael.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. And I also just see what's going on in the chat. Thank you guys so much. It was really, somehow that I love to do, you know, what can I do? And of course I have a time for work to do on the side, but whenever there's time, Max, we squeeze another one in. We'll make that happen.
We will. So guys, thank you so much, everybody, for being here for this hour of power coaching session of our coaching module.
Power, that's a good one, actually.
I think we learned a lot today. And let's do that every time soon, guys. We update all of you guys for the next call, for the next training. And please use your coaching. If you don't have this amazing tool, get your coaching. It's absolutely incredible. It's a lifetime purchase until the end of the year. After this one, it will be a subscription. So don't forget to buy it as soon as possible before it comes to subscription. You will not regret it. It's really a tool that allows you to look deeper and deeper into your information field. It helps you with healing yourself and everybody around you. Use it for yourself, get it, and get your questions ready, because we will be back with another call in a week or so, whenever the time is allowing it. Until then, aloha.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
so much.
By the
way, guys, because a lot of you are asking, you can find the replay in the Evolve with Healy group. Everybody is welcome to use any of our trainings. Max and I are completely open with all of the things that we do. So it's all inside there.
Okay, Evolve with Healy group. Check out the replay. It's in there. Tag your people if somebody wants to know about it. Wouldn't be in here. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much for everybody here. Thank you, Taryn, for being helpful. And take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.